How many people were at the Singapore wedding? How many guests?
You want to make a guess?
150?
300.
We had 300 people.
Oh my gosh.
30 tables.
They would not have fit on that ferry to Batam.
Hi, Zazel.
Hey, Tazura.
And I'm Jermaine.
And welcome back to another episode of Clarity's Hush Podcast.
Today we've got a very special guest. She is one of the top live streamers in all
Wow.
of Asia.
Wow.
Please welcome newlywed girl boss, girl lady, it's Supercatkei.
Hi, Denise.
Can I just say it's so nice to be on set with like gorgeous women. I'm so privileged right now. So nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank
You're
you
so
for
sweet.
being
So
here.
should we call you Supercatkei or should we call you Denise today?
Either is fine. Denise is all right.
Okay, I'll call you
Supercat's
Super
fine.
Denise.
Okay.
Love that, love that.
Super
Yes.
Denise is really quite super. She does a lot of stuff. You live stream every single day.
I live stream 3 times a week.
3 times a week.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Because
crazy.
boundaries.
Correct.
Not every day.
Important.
She live streams 3 times a week and you run your own business doing that and it's just incredible. You also just got married.
I did. Use the ring. Stick closer.
Show it to me. Show it to me.
It is
Wow, that's so beautiful. Do you mean the jellycat ring?
Oh no, I didn't. Oh, there's a whole story behind that. But no, I didn't bring my jellycat ring.
That's okay. You can look for it in the videos, okay?
Yes.
The one where she
yes.
got proposed to. That was so sweet, by the way.
Thank you.
Brought tears to my eyes.
Oh my gosh, Tim planned it all by himself.
Wow.
Yes, and we argued the most in those 2 weeks leading up to the proposal.
Why?
Yeah, because he can't keep a secret. And so usually we're really transparent. We're like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? So, I'm just replying this person, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly for 2 weeks, hey, who are you talking to? Nobody. I'm like, nobody? Who's nobody? And he just couldn't look me in the eye and tell me what he was working on.
That's so cute.
You almost spoiled your own surprise because you
know.
put so much pressure on.
So I just got mad, and I think he preferred that I got mad, I guess, than to
Did you
spoil the
suspect
surprise.
anything?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Yes.
Because it was supposed to be like a set that she has to go to work
Yes.
on. And then when she arrived at that place, there was nobody there. And she's like, why is there no crew? We're supposed to be shooting, aren't we? And then she proceeds to call Sarah from Netflix. Is there
Yes.
actually a Sarah from Netflix?
There is a Sarah from Netflix. Tim, that's how detailed Tim was in his research. So shout out to Sarah from Netflix. We're not stealing your identity. It was just for the proposal. But I called Sarah and Tim picked up the phone.
right in front of her.
Yes.
Hello?
He's like, hello. When we arrived at the location and I saw that setup, I did not dare to believe that it was for me because it looked really nice.
It looks so elaborate.
Yeah, it was really intricate. I was like, no way my man can do this. So when we walked towards it, that's when it kind of slowly sank in. And yeah.
Was this expected? Have you guys been talking about getting married?
Yes, we actually were planning to get married, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay.
But Tim, in his previous job, he was posted to the United States to work. And so that got a little bit uncertain. You know, I wanted him to be able to work overseas and experience that because I have and I loved it. So I was like, you know what? It doesn't really matter if we get married, in this year or next year. It's going to happen eventually. But go and explore, have fun. So that's what he did. But after that, we decided to come back to Singapore. We still very much prefer it. And he got planted, I guess. So
Well, we've talked about weddings quite a few times. We've talked about like nightmare weddings, how much weddings cost, expectations, but we've never really covered like non-traditional / unconventional weddings, which I think yours very much was.
I'm very proud of that, yes.
Okay, but first, when you were younger, did you have a dream wedding in mind?
I don't think I had one vision of a wedding, but I knew what I didn't want in a wedding.
Okay, which was?
So my dad and I, with my family, we would attend weddings
Yep.
and we would just sit at the, those typical round tables and be like, nothing's happening, man. Like it's just moving. And now that I am married, I understand why a lot of these things are the way they are. But back then I was like, it's boring. I want a dancer to come up from like across the stage. I want to like pull people up. So I wanted it to be a lot more interactive. Yeah, I used to want like this big dance floor in the front and center as well. So some other things that I really didn't want was too much empty silence, which I think happens in like more traditional weddings. So just a few things that I knew I didn't want, but there's a lot of stakeholders who are involved in making a wedding happen. So yeah.
So what about your wedding, now that you've pulled it off, right? What was the most unconventional thing out of all the things that you did that you're really, really proud of? Like, yes, I'm so glad I did that.
I am very, 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 very proud of the fact that we live streamed the entire wedding.
That's so insane. Like,
So context is that Tim and I met through live streaming.
Twitch.
Yes, we met on Twitch, and we've practically streamed our entire relationship on Twitch for the last few years. So when we started dating proper, I told him my non-negotiable is that I want to stream the wedding. And he was like, okay, we'll think about it. And I was like, no, we're live streaming the wedding.
that's a deal breaker.
Yeah,
You
it's
say
a
no.
non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So when we were planning the wedding, I already had that in the back of my mind. I initially actually wanted other streamers to have like a little booth at my wedding so that they could take turns to entertain my viewers when nothing was going on. Yeah, we planned big but scaled back a lot,
Okay.
as you do. But I think just being able to pull that off with no technical issues, it was smooth, everyone enjoyed it. I think that was probably what I was most proud of.
So how many people viewed your wedding?
Wow, I actually don't remember. I don't really know. Like, I didn't keep track of it, but I think we had like about 4,000 to 6,000 viewers at one point. Yes. So yeah, it was cool.
Just like viewing your wedding. That's so interesting.
Just watching in the bedrooms.
And no, they're so sweet. They're like, congratulations. They're like, some of them would, give subscriptions or like they would like donate some money as their way of like giving a red packet.
Ayo, so
I
cute.
told my community to dress up in their best outfit to be part of the day. And I have a viewer from the United States who woke up at 4 a.m. to watch the stream. And he was in a suit and he took a picture of himself watching the live stream.
Ayo.
Yeah, it was really,
my
really cute.
gosh.
I love that.
They're so
That is
sweet.
cute. Did you have a planner?
I did have a planner, but I would say that the planner didn't plan the stream. Does that make sense? So I think
She
they
planned everything else.
Yeah, they helped. They supported more with, I think, on the ground, with like the movement of the people and making sure that we're on schedule. But in terms of the live stream, that was my team that was helping to coordinate everything.
Right.
How much did it cost to live stream the entire wedding?
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Tim is in charge.
You don't know.
No, I don't know because we partner with a live stream company.
Ah.
Does that make
Okay,
sense? So
yes.
the streaming company, they do typical, I think, live streams for weddings. You know how they just have like a camera set up. But this one was very intricate. I wanted camera movement. I wanted like cutaways, all that sort of stuff. So they were really excited to explore
Oh,
what
that's nice.
a unique live stream wedding setup would look like. So we did that together. Shout out to them.
You look to me like you would be a very chill bride. Like you wouldn't be a bridezilla. Now,
Did you freak out?
did you have a meltdown?
I think I've learned how to melt down while smiling. I think it's a skill everyone needs to have.
Yeah.
Literally 30 minutes before the live stream was scheduled to start, we found out that we did not have our microphones for the stream. So
Who is getting fired?
no, it's all good. But everyone was panicking, and we were doing the tea ceremony, the traditional Chinese tea ceremony. And my team came up to me, and they were all so scared to tell me that they could not find a solution for the microphones. And I pulled Tim and my other teammates, and I looked them and I said, "You'll find a way." And I just went back to do the tea ceremony. The good news is they did find a way. See, they just needed some encouragement.
And threats from...
No, threats. Encouragement with smiles. But I think I'm not a bridezilla just because I am quite clear on what I want. I think bridezillas also tend to happen when you have a dream and maybe like you're not sure how to work towards that dream. But for me, I knew how to kind of like manage expectations. So like I said, with the booth where I wanted streamers to sit and handle the stream, I realized that really wasn't possible. So it was like, okay, we'll just move on to the next idea.
What were some other things that you did that unconventional or raised some eyebrows when you said you were going to do it? And were there people who were like, are you sure you want to do away without this tradition? Or are you sure you want to do this?
I mean, I didn't have a gate crash. I don't think that's, I'm not sure if that's still quite traditional, but I
It's quite
think,
optional these
yes,
days.
I think it's becoming more common that people don't
What about the
don't do it.
kotali? Did you have that?
Yes, but I didn't know what it was.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's so confusing. Sorry.
Easy's going to explain.
It's like a gesture from the groom's side, the groom's family, to the bride's family. You know, like when the Singapore socialite Kim Lim had her 过大礼, her gifts were like $2 million. You see like Rolex watches, you see lots of gold jewelry, stuff like that. So it's like a gesture from the groom's side to the bride's side. But I wouldn't want that for my, if I ever get married as well. I feel like it's very elaborate and
It makes me
unnecessary.
feel like I'm a cow being sold away for dowry.
Actually,
It kind of is, isn't it?
yes.
That's what I
Yes.
found out.
I don't want to be sold away.
I am a cow.
Aren't we all?
No, did you know in ancient times when the groom they don't like do like gold jewelry and stuff like that, they exchange the daughter for cows. So if like you're really like someone of like high level, you get more cows.
Hey, got cow
Yeah.
calculator, right? Can I find out how many
lot of
cows are
cows,
worth?
Your worth,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Quite a lot, babe.
Wagyu beef cow.
A5.
Yeah, A5 Miyazaki.
Okay, so you did the 过大礼.
Yes, we did. It was a small one, nothing fancy, just a very simple, typical one.
Okay.
I think maybe what we did slightly different was that our wedding celebrations were across 3 events. So we had, first of all, the registration of marriage, which we did in a church.
Okay.
That was the first thing that we did. It was really small. It was just my parents, his parents, and his brother's family, and that's it. Really, really small, really cute, if I say so myself. And the reason why we did that is because our first wedding was overseas in Indonesia, Batam. And we found out that you can't get solemnized overseas unless you're willing to kind of like pay for like an official solemnizer to go over. It was a lot of things. So we decided to split it up. So we had a really intimate destination wedding. I still dream of it till today. It is probably the best thing that we decided to do. It was just maybe like about 50 people of our closest family and friends.
And did you have to fly them over?
Yes. Well, you can take a ferry actually.
Oh, okay.
From Singapore to Batam. And that's the reason why we chose Batam to begin with. Because my dad doesn't like flying. So that was a big consideration for me. So I was like, you know what? I think let's do Batam instead. It gives you the illusion of you being overseas, but without needing to fly.
It's just over the sea.
Literally over
Literally.
a sea. Exactly.
I have to say, destination weddings, as much as it's more practice now, it's still considered an unconventional wedding.
It is, for sure.
Because most of the conventional weddings just happen in like a banquet hall or whatever it is, like a conference room or something. So when you were considering a destination wedding, what was the biggest challenge of that?
Is it a logistical nightmare?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
It is.
really?
Yeah, it's quite challenging, but I think the biggest challenge is getting the parents on board.
To the destination?
Yes, I mean, literally with the idea of wanting to do a destination wedding.
Why?
So, I mean, parents, I would say they have their own vision of what they think their child's wedding is going to look like. I'm sure it's not super elaborate in terms of what they dream of, but you know, they have this impression they're going to have all of their relatives, their neighbors from like next door,
Yes.
all that sort of stuff. So to suggest a destination wedding kind of immediately cancels that dream out. And so having to manage that expectation, you know, to kind of find that balance is really important. It was actually really challenging because we only wanted the destination wedding to start with. So we only wanted a small 60 people wedding. I think as most young couples start out with that dream. And parents were like, how about, you know, we do like 120 people all in Batam. They were like, okay, you know, they're kind of with the idea. Okay, we went down to Batam and we saw the place, we loved it. And in that final meeting, right before we were about to sign, both parents were like, what about all of the family and relatives in Singapore? And then we were like, what about them? You know, I thought we were going to go with this. So
They got cold feet.
yeah, I think they just really wanted, you know,
Okay.
all of them there. And Tim and I, we love our parents very, very much. So we came to an agreement to host a wedding in Singapore, but that was, I think, 4 months before the date.
Oh, gosh.
So we were scrambling to find locations.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think really just going through that process with both of our parents was the most challenging part about having a destination wedding. The logistics can be a nightmare, but I had a really solid like support team. My bridesmaids were Super awesome.
Did you use vendors from here, or did you eventually, use vendors from like Batam as well to make it easier?
Yeah, so it's like 50-50. I would say that
Okay.
like videographers, photographers, I got them from Singapore, just more familiar.
Yeah.
My gown as well was from Singapore, but decorations, all from Batam. I think it's just much easier to coordinate.
Is it cheaper that way? I don't know.
It is definitely going to be cheaper than, bringing a team and their props
Yeah.
to
Right.
like another place.
Yeah.
So definitely significantly cheaper. But the cost, I would say, if I speak very transparently, is that the communication is very different. How they manage things and how they run their business in another country is completely different from how we do it.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of back and forth. I had to kind of like drop vendors halfway through because they just weren't really understanding what I wanted to have in the wedding, which was a good idea. I'm glad I dropped them, to be honest.
Go with your gut.
Yeah,
always.
yeah. It really matters.
I think everyone's trying to like throw, unconventional weddings, like, oh, what's something that, will be so like out of the box. Like I saw this one couple who held their wedding in a yakun kaya toast.
Oh yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Yes,
From 2
in
years
literally
ago.
the store in Far East Square. Just because they love, obviously, the breakfast set at Yakun Kaya Toast. And Yakun is a mix of their Chinese names.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Which is quite cute, actually.
They should be sponsored.
I was
Year
about to say
worth of Yakun, 100%.
But I mean, that is such a, can I just say, like, how do you say, like, cost-effective wedding? And, like, everyone has fun. And the food, is going to be delicious.
Yes.
I would love that.
Yeah, and it's unique, right? And
Yeah.
it's memorable. I think like the most important part is that you're gonna look back and be like, did you remember that time we went to
Yeah.
Yakun and we got married there?
Yeah.
I think that's what I remember the most about like my weddings. Everyone kind of remembers that moment and the emotion they felt while they were in Batam for our destination wedding. It's really special.
That's so sweet. I have a friend, she's a makeup artist. She also held this destination wedding. And on the morning of her wedding, she was snorkeling with her friends and family.
Oh my god.
Snorkeling, looking at
that.
the fishes in the water. And then she got up, got dressed, and went for her wedding.
So cute.
That's so
Right.
chill. I just
Can
know
we do that
that's
when
not
you get
gonna
married?
be me. I'm so
No.
sorry.
Why?
That's just not gonna be me.
Can I go snorkel?
You can snorkel, it's fine. I'll be having like a lymphatic drainage
that
massage in the
sounds so
morning.
good.
Like nice mask.
Okay.
I'll be busy, sorry.
Okay. I go snorkel?
Go,
Okay.
go. Have fun.
But would you want an unconventional wedding, Jimmy? Destination
I
wedding?
would want a destination wedding.
Okay.
But I don't think it can be like too far.
Yeah.
Because people are not gonna fly like 13 hours to Italy. Firstly, it's also very expensive.
It is.
Right? So maybe somewhere in Malaysia or Thailand is possible.
yeah. I think as we grow up, we realize that this is the only time we get to celebrate ourselves.
Yeah.
I told all of my family that I've never wanted attention on me in my entire life. I'm the second youngest I have an older brother. But my wedding, this is all like, I just want to have all the attention on us and we just want to do whatever we want
As
to.
you should.
Yeah. And that's the only day and I'll never ask for it ever again.
Yeah.
The one thing that is a non-negotiable at my wedding, and my future husband knows this already,
Okay.
is an Indomie live station.
Oh, I love that.
Fantastic.
I
Like
love
that's
Correct.
all I want.
Correct.
Like it has to be Indomie, like the white
Yes.
packet
Yeah.
Indomie special.
Correct.
It has to be that one because I know that I'm probably not gonna eat enough,
Yes.
Yes.
and I'm gonna chow down on it.
we had those cup noodle Indomie in each of the packets for our guests in Batam. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Just in
Yes.
case they wanted like a late night snack. So we had it there. Yes.
The live station needs to have like kick-ass belacan on the side.
Yeah, it has like all the little toppings you can put on your Indomie.
So fine.
Yeah, that's what
Okay,
I
would
want.
you girls tell a guest no ang pao? Because this is what an online user told her guests.
Why would you? It's like saying
you don't want ang pao,
I don't want
actually?
money. I don't want money.
Exactly. Okay, so this is what she says. She and her husband rented out a venue and then had pizza and beers and people invited to come and go as they like. And she says it was a hit and I would do it again.
Oh.
But the ang pao bit though, she tried to tell people not to bring, but most of them did anyway because it seems like an ingrained culture in Asians. And
Yeah.
also her close friends and family wanted her to like keep the money
Yeah.
as part of their, a token of appreciation. So it's understandable. And she says at the end of the day, as long as everyone's happy, you should just accept it gracefully.
I can see why she would have that rule though, because it's like a very casual thing, right? You don't want to give people the obligation to like give an ang pao. So actually, it's very sweet of them to say no need to give ang pao.
Yeah.
Plus, wedding lunches and dinners in Singapore is insane.
Yeah.
It's
It is.
expensive,
Yeah. We actually also told our guests who went for the destination wedding that it's not compulsory to give ang baos.
Is it because they're already traveling there?
So we felt that it would get really complicated, to be like, oh, pay for your flight, pay for your accommodation, all that sort of stuff. So because these were 50 to 60 closest people in our lives, we actually paid for the entire thing. So we brought them over, we paid for their stay, and we just didn't want to overcomplicate it because this was just a party that we wanted to have. Some of them, may not be able to afford to come over, but we want them there.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to get rid of that concern of money for these people. But we did write there, if you want to, you can, if you would like, but you don't have to. And I think because they loved us, they did, they did give in their capacities.
Actually, I was about to ask, like, for anyone considering a destination wedding, like, who pays for what,
It's so complicated.
I feel like the general rule of thumb is you have to pay for your parents and the bridal party. Like that's
Okay.
at the very base of it.
Yep.
Okay.
Right?
It is.
Flights, accommodations.
Okay.
But anything on top of that, I think as a guest, you generally don't have to. It's very generous of you that you guys did that. But I think usually they don't.
Okay.
As a guest, you go there, you know that you're paying your own way. But then you also know that maybe you don't really have to give an ang bao.
Yeah. Usually that's kind of the trade-off. So it's like
Oh.
you get invited to a destination wedding, you pay for the transport
Right.
and maybe the accommodation, but you don't have to give like a red packet, all that sort of stuff. We just felt bad. We're like, we don't want to think about this. And it's Batam, so it's really not as, I think, intense like as, even if you go to Bali, the costs already can get quite high.
Yeah.
So we thought about that when we chose our location.
That's
That's very
nice.
smart, actually.
This is very inspiring. I feel like if I ever have a wedding
Tell
next
me
time,
more.
I want something that's out of the norm. But I'm a very traditional girly. I still want my like traditional banquet, like
Yeah.
be it luncheon or dinner in like a hotel
Yep.
where people sit in round tables, exactly like you said, and then like we walk down the aisle. I still want that.
But I think you'll find a way to spruce it up.
Yeah, and I did do that. The Singapore wedding did end up being a banquet wedding. Chinese food, so good, by the way. Oh my gosh, it was so delicious. And we walked down the aisle, but I think there's just ways you can kind of like spice it up. With, for
Right.
example, the song that you choose to walk down the aisle with, or the performers that you have on stage. One thing that we did a little bit different for the banquet wedding was that instead of going table to table to take photos, we set up a little photo booth at the back where the tables would then come to us to take the pictures.
Right.
Yes.
Then the concern would be the elderly relatives.
Yes. So
Maybe walking would be a problem for them, right?
so we did
You can
consider
get
that.
to the ballroom, you can get to the back of the ballroom lah. Sorry.
You are the spice at your wedding.
Not wrong. But we did factor that in. So, making sure that the photo booth area was nearer to where the elderly people were. Maybe they were the first to come up, things like that. But the main reason why we did that was because we just felt that taking photos at the table
It's very
with the food
unsightly,
there,
yeah.
it's just not the prettiest looking.
Right.
So that was and we wanted people to move around, so it's not so, you don't feel so lethargic sitting around at the chairs. So I'm sure you'll find ways
I
to
feel like
make it
Casey
special.
would have like a flash mob at her wedding.
Flash mob.
Like definitely a dance
Yeah.
performance of some sort. Like it'd be a very like musical wedding. My god sister just got married a couple months ago, and she's a baker. She wanted to bake her own wedding cake the day before her wedding, and everyone told her that is such a bad idea. So she ended up switching to brownies. So she baked brownies for every single guest.
Oh, that's so
Which
nice.
still took a long ass time, but brownies you can freeze them,
Yes.
right? And they were freaking delicious.
Oh my
Like
god.
literally, they were so yummy.
Yeah, you're not gonna have any time to do a lot of these things on the day of. It gets so hectic. And why I really loved the fact that we had the wedding over across a couple of events was because we were able to really enjoy it.
Aw, that's nice.
Because typically Singapore weddings, you do the gate crash, then you have the banquet and all that sort of stuff. You don't remember anything.
How far apart were these 3 dates?
So they were a week each.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's intense,
Yeah.
babe. That's intense.
But it's like a month of me.
Yes!
and never again. So yes, but that was my excuse. Take a month off. No work, just focusing on the wedding, focusing on celebrating Tim and myself, and then after that, back to work, back to the hustle.
I love that.
Were people who were in Batam invited to the Singapore wedding again?
Some actually were not invited to Singapore. Yes, but it was very carefully curated, I would say. For example, we knew that some of those people would not enjoy being
Right.
in the banquet.
Right.
So we were like, okay, we'll just allocate those seats elsewhere. But we didn't ask them, like we gave them the option, first dibs almost, and then they shared their feedback. So we went pretty detailed, I would say, with choosing. But because most of those people are, like I said, our closest, so it just made sense for them to be part of the Singapore one as well.
Thoughtful.
How many people were at the Singapore wedding? How many guests?
You want to make a guess?
250.
300.
We had 300 people.
Oh my gosh.
30 tables.
They would not have fit on that ferry to Batam.
No, they would not have.
No.
We would have needed like 4 boats or
Oh
something.
my god.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Did it kind of like get out of proportion? It was like, oh, let's just throw a banquet just for the people in Singapore, and boom, 300
Yeah,
people.
it kind of felt like that.
Yeah.
But we managed our parents the best that we could. We actually told them 8 tables.
Like it could have been 500,
yes.
but they compromised, is it?
yeah, we told them 8 tables each, which I can't math, but I think that amounts to like 160.
Yes.
So we're like 160 people, but we had these few spare tables.
Right, 'cause
Just
you
in
knew.
case. Yeah. Because my parents, when they got married, they said they had people crashing their wedding. So they kept telling me, make sure you have a spare table. You must have a spare table. I'm like, Daddy, it's 2025.
Who's crashing
Yeah,
weddings?
if they're going to crash it, we're going to send them out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But we did that because, my dad was really insistent about it.
So did anybody crash the wedding?
Not that I know of. I mean, I hope nobody did. Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap up this episode, for our viewers and listeners of Hush Podcast, if they are considering out of the norm, unconventional weddings, what are some tips you would give them?
First tip,
Okay.
do not plan your wedding and renovate your house at the same time. Okay?
Is that what you did?
Yes, so we planned 3 weddings, renovated our home, and I run my own business. At the same time, we were in shambles. Tim and I literally fell super ill after the wedding. Thank God after the wedding, I
Yeah.
would say. But just in case you were thinking, maybe it's possible. No, no, just don't. Take the time. You don't have to rush it. That's the first tip. Secondly, I think it's really taking the time to run the idea by your parents as well. I think for us, we are really blessed. I think we have parents that are very supportive. But at the same time, like I said, they have their own impressions of what this day is going to look like. So managing those expectations takes a lot of time. It's just going through that process again and again with them, but also being, standing your ground for things that you truly want. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you say, no, it's my wedding and this is how it's going to be as nicely as possible?
I give them something in return.
Oh.
Yes.
You compromise.
Yes.
Switch it up.
For example, they wanted the Singapore wedding, which
Okay.
Tim and I were really quite against because of cost, and time and just the logistics. But I said, okay, if we do the Singapore wedding, then I will live stream the entire thing and no relatives can say anything about it. And they're like, okay. And true enough, everyone was okay with it. Yeah. So I think it's just really give and take, picking your battles. Some things are just not worth fighting for. For that day, it's just not worth
Agree.
fighting for.
Very wise advice.
Thank you.
I love that.
Probably came from Tim.
Okay, with that, thank you so much for sharing your precious experience and your advices and tips. So check out Denise on Supercatkei. You can tune into her Twitch, her live streams, and also follow us on Instagram at isclarity.co.
That's right. You can listen to us on Me Listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, turn on your notifications.
We're on YouTube as well, wishing you the most blissful married life. For now, until the end of time.
Thank you. And to you all. when it
thank you.
happens too.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye.
I would definitely want to host my own entrance, Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
For you,
For myself.
amazing.
Love that.
Out of the
That's
door.
iconic,
Very
actually.
iconic.
All right,
Video.
kind of
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Put it in the budget.